Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hey, thanks for the response. All right, thank you for joining us today. So we are here today to celebrate the 5th annual Tourism Cup. So this is an event that we started 5 years ago as a fun way to share insight and knowledge with some of our best industry partners who specialize in the travel and tourism industry, specifically in the marketing arena. So I want to talk a little bit today about customer centricity, and we'll have Wendy Olson Killion joining us in just a moment to share some insights and knowledge from Expedia Media Group solutions. But what we want to do today is actually have a little bit of a competition following that keynote address. So a little bit of overview around what you're going to see today. We're going to dive very specifically into some key topics about customer centricity and how we're evolving as an industry to focus more on the customer specifically. But we're going to have a little bit of a debate around that on some key elements, and so we're going to need your help. So we will have 3 representatives from the Americas and 3 representatives from Europe, and we'll talk a little bit about the protocol in just a bit. But you each have a card sitting on your seat, and that card should have a red side and a blue side. So we're going to be looking for you all as the audience to help us vote on who makes the greatest argument against their topic. And by doing that, we're going to ultimately see who draws the 5th tiebreaker for the Tourism Cup Challenge, because to date, we are tied at 2 years to Team Europe and 2 years to Team Americas. But before we get into that, I'd like to invite Wendy Olson Killion up. So Wendy is Vice President for Expedia Group Media Solutions. And a lot of what Expedia's been looking at as we move forward, and they're going to share with you, is the research and insight that they've been using to really drive greater personalized messaging and focused on true customer centricity. Hey, Wendy, would you like to come to the stage? All right, come on up.
Thank you, Craig. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. You've made it to the afternoon of day 2. Congratulations. I am really excited to be here to talk not about why customer centricity is key to innovation, but why customer centricity is innovation. So a little bit about me. I just love to share this. It's my favorite bleisure, or La Business, as I'm trying to get it rebranded. This is a picture of me in Singapore. I have a fun fact up here. I come from a very small town in eastern Washington state, but I have to say, if you're in Singapore, do the Crazy Rich Asians sidecar tour, because it is amazing and absolutely worth it. Professionally, I work at Expedia Group Media Solutions. I want to make sure that I can get it right now. We are the digital advertising arm for the Expedia Group, and we work across all of our different brands all across the world, connecting destinations and other travel brands and non-travel brands with the hundreds of millions of consumers that come to our site to dream and book travel. But enough about me. The world is shifting online. This is not a surprise to any of us in this room. But when we think about this, Focusrite had a statistic that online bookings are growing twice as fast as the rest of the industry. This is clear as we think about what is happening. Consumers are shifting online. And with those connected consumers comes a very different proposition for them. They have a lot more knowledge, they have a lot more understanding, and one of the things I like to say, and we all know it, is every destination's just a click away. So destinations are being considered, it's a very crowded marketplace, and in order to stand out in that, you have to have great content and information. Not surprisingly, mobile is everywhere. This is one of those advancements and change. How many people have a cell phone on them right now? Exactly. Well, I have another question for you. They ask a group of people how many of them wouldn't enjoy their holiday without their phone. Any guesses? How many people, actually just raise your hand if you would enjoy your holiday without a phone. All right. This group is above average. I knew that when I walked into this room. Clearly, you're above average. So they said almost a third of folks could not enjoy their holiday without their phone. Surprising? Not really. Sad? A little bit, right? But as we think about it, this is the device that everyone has. This is your camera, this is your social connection, this is everything to you today. Well, the pace of technology is literally flying into the scene at all times. It's even flying in on this slide. These all have the opportunity to disrupt our industry. And as we're thinking about all these different technologies, how do we apply them? How do we apply them to our customers? And that is what we've been thinking a lot about at Expedia Group. Our platforms must adapt. This is what we think about yesterday. Those things that really connected us with consumers and drove us forward, as you'll see, big data, data science, human intelligence. That's all yesterday. But today, streaming, real-time data, AI and automation, and human creativity. This is critical as we're starting to think and put that consumer in the driver's seat of everything we do. They really are at the heart of everything we do at Expedia Group. In technology, I was speaking with someone earlier today, for technology's sake, that doesn't help us. When we apply that technology to a customer problem and we put the customer in the middle of what we're trying to do and creating fictionless travel, booking, everything, if they get disturbed, we want to be able to fix that, right? Putting that customer in the center and then applying the technology that disrupts us to that problem is where it's very, very powerful. This is a traveler journey map. This is something that we do at Expedia Group to understand everything that the consumer is doing and their behaviors as they're thinking about travel, as they're dreaming about travel, every different phase of that. And then what we do is we take our resources and we tie it back to the places where they're having the most difficulties in their traveler journey. But it's not just about behavior. When we think about this, we want to understand how a consumer, how a shopper, how a traveler feels when they're doing this. And these are electromyography is what you see in these different things, or EM. And when we think about this, we want to understand the micro movements and the reactions that travelers have when they're looking at travel online, when they're trying to book. We're able to understand frustrations they have in the process, maybe by a small twitch that isn't discernible without this recognition. Eye tracking, also helpful, all of those things. But when you can really understand how someone's feeling, then that's a great use of being able to use technology and to get in there and make their journey better. So when we think about this customer centricity, it is the key to innovation, but like I said, it is actually the innovation as we think about this. It's important as we are delivering products and services that we are encouraging travelers when they're looking at our brands to make sure that we get this right. We're in a position to capitalize on this. And here are three different elements that we think about. It's improving the shopping experience, delivering incredibly personalized experiences, and helping travelers to do what they want to do, which is travel. I wanted to share some examples of these technological innovations because as we think about this, it doesn't matter if you're in marketing, if you're in product, if you are in any part of a travel organization, you have to put that customer first in everything that you're doing. But through this lens of customer centricity, some of the different elements that we've seen show up. Chatbots versus voice assistants, right? When we think about this, both understand natural language. They have very different applications, though, of what they're doing with that language. When we think about what Expedia Group has done in both of these different areas, it's important as we develop and maintain these continuous conversations with our shoppers and our travelers. We're getting this information back, but how do we help them with the technology? It's a true cycle as we think about how we're connecting with customers and how we're getting this feedback. Let's start. I'm going to show you an example of creating personalized experiences with the chatbot. So this is going to play, and Ariel here has a lot to say, so I'm going to get it started. What you'll see here is an application of a bot demonstrating they understand a customer's issue. More importantly, as we look at this, it's able to help the customer rebook their itinerary. And as we continue, you'll see that the bot can even make recommendations based on preferences and things they know about the customer. And it's a great opportunity for us to have that wider innovation, to have this and create a problem. Oh, here we see the upselling, and you see this going on. But this is really important because this technology is online all the time. This isn't someone you have to make sure is in a call center or anything else. This is a bot, this is natural, this is how they are interacting and using that technology to solve a customer problem. This is very different than we think about these voice assistants. We spent a lot of time looking at these. We have an Alexa skill, we have a Google action, we have all of these as we think about how customers want to use these voice assistants to interact with an OTA. The challenge here is very different than when we think about bots. The challenge here is just getting people to adopt them, getting people to start utilizing and talking to their voice assistant about travel. Now we see this happening a lot around status. What's my flight status? What are things looking like? What is the weather in the destination I'm going to? But what we want to see is an opportunity to answer questions like, what's the best time to fly to Cancun? How much does it cost to go to London? Similar things like that, and getting that adoption up is really, really important. As we see adoption curves over time for different technologies, we expect that the voice assistant the curve will look similar, and we're already starting to see that with the Echo here on the right in purple. The other that I want to talk about is virtual reality versus augmented reality. Virtual reality has generated a lot more buzz as we've thought about what they are doing in that space, but we're not seeing the level of adoption because of the requirement for the technology, right? And when we think about augmented reality, there's a much lower bar for adoption. All you need is a smartphone. And if you have that smartphone, then you can look at that. And we'll show you a couple ways that we're using this technology at Expedia Group to solve customers' problems. This is on one of our brand's apps. So 2 weeks prior to traveling, this shows up in the trips section of the app. You can use augmented reality on your phone to understand, in this instance it's Air Canada, what is the requirement for the carry-on bag in the size that I can take. And you can use your camera, you can point it at that, and it uses augmented reality to tell you if you're going to get stopped at the gate in that really uncomfortable way and asked to check your bag. So this tells you what you're doing. It's solving a customer's problem with really cool technology. This is another activity that I love, is you can virtually roam with the gnome. And this was a campaign that we had where you could put the gnome into your holiday photos, you could put them into different photos, and you could see. But it was a great way of AR being used in a powerful way to just engage and inspire and have fun. We see having fun in travel planning, it totally changes how someone's thinking. And families are doing it all the time, according to our research, so we want to make sure that we're making this fun. The AR element with the gnome was very, very popular. This was where you could put the gnome in different places, and it was super fun just to have an engaging interaction with the brand. It allows that consumer to have fun throughout their journey. So I'll leave you with this. Whatever business you're in within travel, whatever role you have within it, staying innovative means keeping the focus on the consumer. Keeping that consumer in the heart and in the focus of everything you do is how you are going to innovate and how you are going to continue to make more frictionless travel for our customers. So with that, I will leave you. We have a lot of the research that I mentioned available on advertising.expedia.com. Feel free to go there. We have a lot of different research on the things that are driving us to use these technologies in this way. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Wendy. And I will make an extra plug for the Expedia Group. As a marketing agency that focuses in travel and tourism, we use their research and insights all the time. And there's more data and research on that site than you could possibly want. well beyond some of the pictures you all were taking of the slides today. So I'd certainly encourage you to go there. Now, with that, I would like to invite our teams up to the stage for our competition. And I have heard a little bit of chatter among the teams already, so I do expect a good competition. Let's start with Team Europe, the home team, if you will. First up, Samantha Zurich, VP of Sales and Services from Media IQ. David Meany, Director of Partner Marketing from the Travel Corporation. And Andrew Vanderfeltz, Senior Director of Business Development from Expedia Group Media Solutions. Now for Team Americas. We have Pam Meehan, Senior Director, Supplier Relations from Travel Leaders Group. Tom Hall, VP of Experience for Lonely Planet. And President of Connect Travel, Will Seckham. Okay, a bit about our battle today. So I mentioned there's going to be 3 topics, each discussing in a bit deeper level some of the topics that Wendy touched on as it relates to customer centricity and personalization. We're going to pair up 2 team members, one from each team, to speak on each of those topics. They each get 4 minutes and only 4 minutes to make your presentation. And if you go longer than 4 minutes, I'm going to kick you off this stage and take the microphone away from you. At the end of each topic, I'm going to ask everyone in the group to pull out their card. And you're either going to vote for Team Europe with blue, or Team Red, or Team Americas with Team Red. And the total points at the end of the day will ultimately tell us not just today's champion, but the series champion for our 5-year cup. Are you all ready? Yeah. Okay, well, let's get started. So the first topic we're going to cover today is ultimately around travel advisors and direct consumer marketing. You know, in our own MMGY Global research, we actually see that for international outbound marketing, travel advisors and the use of travel advisors still remains really relevant. But we also continue to see through personalization a focus on new technology that can make, as Wendy pointed out, that can make marketing to consumers digitally more relevant. So we've asked our teams to chime in on this, and we're going to start with Samantha Zurich.
I am ready. Thank you. Okay, so when we're talking about consumer-centric marketing and we're discussing between direct-to-consumer and travel advisors, I really think that it comes down to the human element versus the machine learning element. In this way, direct-to-consumer has exploded beyond the traditional means, making everything more data-centric and available at your fingertips. Now it's beyond the traditional mailer, and it's within every facet of marketing. With data collection and aggregation of trending consumer insights, marketers now have the ability to be much more proactive in how they're speaking to consumers versus reactive whenever individuals have heavy intent signals, like using a travel advisor. For example, over-tourism is a real problem in some areas, like Breckenridge, Colorado. And we use lookalike marketing to push consumers to underdeveloped areas that are well within the state and also solve that business challenge of getting people to travel to that area, but not to the overcrowded areas. Machine learning allows us to know millions of attributes about every consumer, even more than they know about themselves. Direct-to-consumer marketing allows for these factors to be taken into consideration in the decision-making process. Direct-to-consumer also allows for real-time marketing, the ability to connect a deal with an individual in the matter of milliseconds. Break up with a boyfriend, head to St. Bart's. Searching for a perfect anniversary getaway, hotel chains can get a leg up. The key to direct marketing is giving someone they didn't even know that they needed, not just fulfilling our immediate needs. For this, I feel that direct-to-consumer is better at being consumer-centric without the individual even knowing it. For Destination DC, we're moving towards a consumer-centric activation through personalized creative to recommend the best experience, all within seconds, with everything that they would need to book their trip. We've launched the first-to-market interactive unit, which was very similar to the Expedia experience of the chatbot, in which each person had an individualized experience and were able to book everything at their fingertips. In my opinion, direct-to-consumer marketing is more efficient in the reach of consumers in an individualized way. That's not to say that there isn't room for travel advisors. When traveling in large groups or heavy logistical traveling, advisors are still adding value. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. With a minute to spare, too. Well done. All right, so from Team Americas, we have Pam Meehan from the Travel Leaders Group.
Hi. So I, too, am going to talk about the value of human relationships versus data-driven marketing. To me, customer-centric equals a trusted travel advisor. For example, I have the same trusted travel advisor, Chris, who's known me for 15 years. Chris knows my family and my friends, and she's become their trusted travel advisor as well. We go to the same hairstylist, and we also have the same trusted tax accountant. I see her general post on Instagrams, which gives me ideas, but it is her personal recommendations and help that I value the most. I get personalized attention before, during, and after my trip. That is why I recommend working with Chris or one of our 52,000 other travel leaders advisors around the world. They all also get to know their customers' personal travel history, their preferences, and their personal experiences. Our business is not B2B or B2C. Our business is P2P, person to person. Chris knew when my best friend at work in August passed away from a pulmonary embolism, and she knew I needed to get out of town. She arranged for my partner and I to go to San Diego, and Oscar and I got away, looked at the ocean, and we were able to mourn Cindy's passing. Consumer marketing and data intelligence helps us actually acquire customers, but it's the personal experience that our advisors develop that really make long-term customers. I can't imagine planning any trip without Chris's expertise. She knows not only that I like morning flights and aisle seats, but she also knows that I personally now need to add some extra planning because we have a new puppy at home. Krista is my trusted travel advisor, and I can't imagine her being replaced by a computer. And I have an irritating example that I have whenever I say to my phone, "Hey Siri, call my mom."
I don't know who your mother is. In fact, I don't know who you are, but you can tell me in Siri settings, tap on my info.
So Siri doesn't know how my mother is, but Chris does. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, very interesting. So to hear that Team Europe focused more on the data, on personalization, and Team Americas focused more on the P2P side. So a quick note as we go to voting. Not everybody's going to have contrary opinions. We may actually end up with the same opinion. So your goal is to say who made the most salient points. So we're going to start with the vote. So for those of you all who say that Team Europe made the most salient points, please raise your blue.
So are they red or blue?
Blue for Europe, red for Americas. Oh, we're opposite here. Okay, fine, red for the Europe. Okay, great. For those of you who want to vote for Team Americas, which I think is really a vote for Chris, the travel advisor, over to blue. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I'm gonna give that one to Europe. That's a close one. Okay, on to topic number 2. So one of the things that we also see in our research around consumer travel is that being more socially aware about the culture that you visit and the communities that you attend is becoming more and more of a driving factor of why you go to destinations and the products you visit for travel. So we want to ask our teams to talk about, do we need to adapt in the travel industry to a more socially aware traveler? So we're going to start with Tom Hall from Lonely Planet. Tom?
Thanks very much. Okay, firstly, I should say before I actually address the topic, you're going to notice something about me, Team America's British guy. So I think I'm the first person in the United Kingdom to be Brexited. There you go. To address the question, should brands adapt to a more socially aware traveler? Unequivocally, yes, absolutely. In fact, you should have already adapted. That's not the end, but there's a very good reason for that. Any brand that is active in the travel space should have noticed or should be on the cusp of acting on the changes that have taken place in terms of travelers' attitudes, what's important to them, their priorities and their concerns when they're in destination. It's a bit of a challenge, this one. It's actually a bit of a multi-headed monster to grapple with. The rewards can seem to be quite basic. The rewards are that you stay relevant with your audience, you have the ability to continue to meet their needs. If you do it well, you are surprising and delighting them. I was very struck on the MMGY boat yesterday, the topic of how brands are adapting to travelers now just kept coming back again and again with issues around social attitude, sustainability, technology, all kinds of things like that. So how do you do this? Well, I think the first thing is to accept that this isn't about control. This isn't necessarily a process that as a brand you can feel fully in charge of. And at Lonely Planet, I think we've got comfortable with that. We've got 14 million travelers in social media talking to us all the time. It has to be a dialogue. Actually, it has to be a dialogue that you're quick at and that you're good at responding to. And adapting is actually about proactivity as far as you can take it, and it's then about response. If I can give you an example, hopefully quite a current example. At the moment, people are very concerned about, particularly in Europe, but also in other areas, about the impact of getting on a plane. Is this a good or a bad thing? Help me, I am looking for some guidance here. Lonely Planet has a lot to say on this topic. We've tried to anticipate people's needs. We do that through our digital content. We've addressed the issue head on. We haven't hidden from it, even though it's potentially a thorny one for us, for all of us in the industry to grapple with. So we've been proactive about it. We're also proactive in the context of product. So we have a book called Low Carbon Europe, which is coming out, which is a series of itineraries aimed at travellers who want to have non-flying options when they're travelling in Europe. We're really excited about that coming out in May. And we also have a response. So we're proactive, but we also have a response. And the response is an ongoing dialogue. We want to hold our hands up and say, hey, we don't have all the answers on this. We want to listen, want to hear what people have to say. In conclusion, adapt, be socially aware. It's the only way forward. Thank you.
All right, next up we have David Meany to address for Team Europe around socially aware travelers.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is David Meany. I work for the Travel Corporation, and within the Travel Corporation we have 42 different travel brands. But when we're speaking about the more socially aware customer, I think it's important to talk about Gen Z and the younger millennial who are really kind of leading the way here. Contiki is our youth brand within the group, and since 1962, Contiki has been taking young travelers all over the world, bringing them together and having these life-changing experiences. We've stayed loyal to that demographic, 18 to 35, and for the last 58 years, that's what we've been doing. There's been no change there. But what we have seen change is how that 18 to 35-year-old sees the world and also how they want to travel. So, the traveler of the youth traveler of the past wanted to tick off icons, wanted to party hard, wanted to just kind of do it all, squish it into a really short trip, and they weren't necessarily very mindful of environmental issues or their carbon footprint, and you could say they were fairly one-dimensional in how they traveled. The traveler of today is all about traveling with intention, connecting to the communities and the places that they go to, and they're more conscious of the communities and the places that they go to, and they're very much so conscious of how green travel, low impact travel, and offsetting their carbon footprint. So you could say that in summary that they're really looking to come away from their travel experiences feeling like they've been part of something. So what we're really seeing is the rise of the conscious traveler, or the more socially aware traveler. So in answer to the question, should a brands adapt to be more socially aware travelers? Is this a trick question? Yeah, obviously, of course we should be. Because if we look at some of the stats, we've run some research with Unidays, who are an authority on marketing to the millennial and Gen Z audience. And they said that 78% of this audience are more loyal to purpose-driven brands than traditional brands. 70% say that environmental and equality issues are some of the most fundamental things that they care about. And 93% believe that brands have an obligation to take a stand on environmental issues. So it's so blatantly obvious. It's not something we should be doing now. It's something that, as you mentioned, is something that we should have been doing for many years. But from a marketing perspective, we need to be very cautious of not just jumping on the bandwagon. We've all seen, this kind of greenwashing, people talking about the environment during April, which is, the Earth Month. And from a marketing perspective, we absolutely should not be doing that. We should be incorporating this and turning the mirror back on our processes. So looking at what our fundamentals are as a business, what are our core values, how are we, doing simple things like eradicating single-use plastics in our offices, or ensuring that all the volunteer days that our staff have are being taken up every year. And then from there, we can really begin to look further. So we've been looking at our product. So from a product development perspective, what are we doing to support the communities and the people and the wildlife in the places that we go to? So how are your contracts? How does that all kind of come about? Contiki and the Travel Corporation have been on a journey. It's not something that we have absolutely nailed, and it really all starts with us here. We're incredibly privileged in the roles that we have within the travel industry, and my kind of advice to you would be to look internally, to try and not greenwash, to engage your community. I think that's a really important point. We're not experts. Speak to your audiences across your social channels and find out what they want to do and experience, and how they want you to be more socially aware. And finally, the stats speak for themselves. The younger audiences are demanding this from the brands that they travel with, and so for commercial reasons it makes sense, but authenticity is key. So before you jump into it, think about the fundamentals first. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, interesting. Both along the lines of we need to definitely adapt to a more socially aware traveler. Let's start with Team Americas. Who votes that Team Americas made the most salient points? And I want to reiterate, this is not a vote for Brexit. This is just a vote for the Team Americas argument. Okay, very good. And a vote for Team Europe. Wow, another close one. I'm going to give that one to Team Americas, which puts us into a final battle. No pressure, Will Seckham. Want to talk about personalization. So Wendy Olson Killion talked a lot about using data to personalize messaging. But my question for our panelists today is, does that dilute the value of brand, or is brand still relevant in the marketing of customer centricity? So Will, you are actually the last to go. Before we come to the Americas, we'll have Andrew Vanderfeltz from Expedia Group.
Thank you very much indeed for that introduction. My name is Andrew Vanderfeltz, and indeed I work for Expedia Media Solutions, representing EMEA and APAC, on this occasion Europe. So get ready for my 4 minutes. Here we go, we started. I fully believe that it does not dilute the brand at all. And in fact, I have a piece of plastic in my pocket, Bank of Scotland, and this is proof that personalization and data are leading to brand loyalty. It's been frozen a few times, it's been rejected numerous times, and it's got me out of a number of scrapes more often than I care to imagine. But let me come back to the bank and to my card later on. From our own research within Media Solutions, we know that from the billions of points of data that we have at our at our access, that emotion drives the decision. But emotion is driven and inspired by the data that consumers leave behind on our site. Those billion points of data allow marketeers to strategize and create ways that they can trigger the emotion to engage with the consumer. And the emotion here is the key component of loyalty. I would argue that without personalization and data-driven personalization, there is no emotion, and therefore there is no loyalty. And loyalty and emotion are symbiotic and produce a hormone, oxytocins, that make you feel good. Love, loyalty come from that same hormone, and effectively, it is that feeling of self-worth. And for all those marketeers in the room, you know that the better your self-worth, the closer you get to self-actualization, and therefore the pinnacle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and therefore the marketeer's ultimate dream. And brands have always known this, even to the days of Henry Ford, where personalization, as long as you like the color black, was right up his street. Down through mass customization, Adidas with style, fit, and performance equipment and clothing, through to BMW. They spend 6 times more to acquire a new audience versus maintaining an audience. So all those advertisings that you see are actually to maintain the loyalty of their existing customer base, because it is that much easier to get hold of them. So every time you see a BMW advertising, it's making those people who own a BMW feel good about their choice, and they continue that path into the future. And to today's environment, where data-driven personalization through the ease of this, through artificial intelligence or machine learning, think of Amazon and ASOS in the retail industry, or in fact Spotify and Netflix in entertainment. These are effectively personalizing on your choices of brands that you're choosing, on products that you're choosing, and films that you may be watching at that given time. So when we look at personalization and data-driven, and I would like to come back to my own personal card here. This has been my flexible friend for the last 30 years. It's outlived my marriage, and it's still with me. And ladies and gentlemen, I would argue that data-driven personalization is indeed not diluting, but strengthening brand loyalty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, your points were so well taken, I'm pretty sure I heard operatic music playing in the background as you were finalizing your points. All right, next up, Will Seckham from Connect Travel.
Thank you, Craig, and Andrew, thanks for bringing up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That just wins. So I was on do brands and personalization, does it impact or dilute the value of brands? I was on a plane flying over here on Friday afternoon, and saw a tweet that I thought was really interesting and relevant to the conversation. It said 50% of marketers believe that brand is dead, and 50% believe that brand is more important than ever. So it's a really, really interesting question and a great topic for a debate. One of the things that, and I'm going to bring in a word that I think is kind of the word of the year in marketing, at least in the United States, certainly. But I'm seeing it, I think it really came out of the travel and tourism business a lot, but I haven't been to a presentation or a demo that hasn't used the word bespoke. Everything is bespoke. And so I think it's important to talk about why personalization matters. We all like personalization. We like to customize things to our fit. You know, a cool jacket that has a little bit of a flavor that feels different, feels you. We all love personalization. I think that is absolutely very, very clear. But how does that personalization work, and how does it impact our decisions? I had a recent conversation. I wore some new glasses, and I needed a new pair of glasses, and I heard about this new brand, Warby Parker, and I hadn't heard about it, but it sounded like a pretty cool idea. They identify the shape and size of my face. They recommend some frames for me, and then they even sent me 5 frames that I got to look on, and my family got to tell me which ones I looked smart in. And this is the result, and I kind of like them. So a really cool, customized, bespoke experience. And so I love that until I got here, and Wendy and I have the same glasses. So I wonder, is this truly personalized? How relevant is that? And then and over the course of the last month or so, I can't open up a web browser. I can't go to social media without getting a Warby Parker ad. And so again, is that a true custom experience? Is it a true personalized value, or is it not? I think in travel is the same kind of thing. every hotel knows exactly what floor I like to be on. They know, what kind of bed I want. They know what time I want to check out. They know everything about me thanks to my relationship with Expedia. That said, I haven't checked into a hotel yet that doesn't ask me if it's my first time there. So how does this customization, personalization translate through itself through the entire process? So my belief is that in both of those cases, the idea of a bespoke, customized delivery of amazing experience is always going to trump any other experience we can, and it's going to do nothing but support a brand. However, all too often, I believe today, we are pretending and playing with that personalized message. We may be getting some really cool, relevant ads delivered to us or messages delivered to us based on something that we were interested in 3 months ago or 6 months ago because it's customized and personalized. I think Google at CES this year said it best, that the brands that deliver and are the most helpful are going to be the brands that are successful long term. So my point is, yes, personalization is very, very powerful, but the brands that deliver on that bespoke experience are going to be the brands that are successful, and those that are creepy, using personalization in ways that aren't relevant to customers are going to end up losing brand value. So I'm on a 50-50 of how it works. That being said, Craig, I would like to tell you that as the American team, we've struggled a lot with elections. And if you're going to be the electoral college for this round, we want to be very, very careful on how we count these votes.
Okay, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I'll make sure there are no hanging chads. And in fact, I don't want the pressure of this. So, Wendy, come on up to stage. You're going to join us on this. That's true. That's not fair. You've got a biased opinion. Yeah, Billy, come on up. Come on up. You're gonna take the pressure with me. Okay. Thank you, Will, by the way, for using the term bespoke, because I thought we might go a session without using that term. Okay, the audience vote. Let's start with Team Europe and Andrew. Oh, sure, we're going to do a real count. Okay. We've got 13 plus 11? 24. Okay, everybody for Will and Team Americas. You're kidding. 11 on your side? It was 13 on my side. We have a first ever draw, and I have no backup for this. So congratulations, it's a draw. You're all winners in our book anyway. Thank you all to the panelists for your presentations today. Thank you to Expedia Group Media Solutions and Wendy for the keynote address, and thank you all for joining us today.